Keys to the city, baby. When you see us, so you know you really viewing greatness in the making. Double up on facts we stating. Podcasting, cruise control, city, state, the nation. So what you saying, what we saying, prime information. Facts, keys to the city, we unlocking the statements.
Streaming every Friday.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Clovercrest Media presents Keys to the City. We are streaming on all social media platforms, including Twitch, at Keys to the City. So subscribe, comment, share, like. Boy, oh boy, what a weekend it was. Like I said, we were excited Friday, the super wild card weekend. You know how we have expectations, and sometimes those expectations don't live up to, as I should say, our expectations. But this weekend delivered. Delivered from 1 o'clock Saturday morning, or Saturday afternoon, I should say, to Sunday at 11:30 at night. And what a weekend, like I said. And then tonight, boy, oh boy, I cannot wait. Joe, if you want to know something funny, I'm actually wearing that same exact outfit. You want to talk about superstitious? I'm wearing the exact same outfit that I wore in the college football Final Four when they played Clemson. So I'm just I got all the Ohio State colors. I got black pants. I got black boots on. I got gray socks on. I got red boxers on. I got a white tee, and I got my Ohio State thing. To say the least, I'm excited for tonight's game. We'll get into that later on.
Let's hope it was you that helped them win the first game.
Of course they are. And it's going to be the reason why they win tonight, too, because I can't wait. Like I said, it's Roll Tide versus the Buckeye Nation. We'll get into all of that later on. But like I said, what a weekend. The NFL delivered. Just like the MLB delivered adding playoff teams, the NFL delivered having 7 teams and having 3 games. I actually prefer this instead of the 2 teams having buys. I like this. Well, yeah, because now you have to fight for those 16 weeks. It's only 1 team that gets a bye in each conference, and I loved it. Well, I loved everything about it.
Well, that and we have 3 football games to watch.
And and like I said, more football is more football, so you can't complain.
So your wife and girlfriend can't bother you on Saturday and Sunday. Be like, hey, babe, let's go out early. Nah, game start at 1 o'clock, babe.
Well, the thing is, the women should know, around this time of year, just don't bother us. This is football time for football fans. This is our dream. This is what we live for. All football.
And what I liked was more.
Joe looks like he didn't watch any football. He looks like he got yelled at if he was watching football this week.
Well, here's the thing. You worry about when you add more teams if it's going to hurt the product, the overall product.
It definitely
And
did
the
not.
7 seeds were not no slouches. They gave every team a run for the money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Colts right off the bat, we're going to talk about that game. I thought for the most part outplayed the Bills. And then the 7th seed in the NFC
was the Chicago Bears, who had their opportunities. And like I said, each game was a toss-up. But I believe truly all the teams that won these games were the better teams from start to finish. But with the exception of the Buffalo Bills, I know it's crazy because everybody loves the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills, I'll say the luck of the Bills, because the Bills got extremely lucky. I credit Frank Wright for going to be aggressive in the game. But you got to capitalize on points. When you're going against a team, you're on the road, it's in the playoffs, it's do or die, and a team that's on fire offensively, you have to try to take the points as best you can, knowing that you have a great defense already. And that defense played their part. Then the Rams, they were the better team. Sorry, Seattle. Another year, another disappointment. You're out, one and done. That's what I did. I said we talked about it all on Friday. There was a lot of pressure.
But you said your thing was
Russell
the other
Wilson.
day, the worst matchup that the Seattle could face was the Rams. Because first of all, you're playing your interdivision rival, which you already played twice. And if you know anything about this rivalry, the Rams match up really well against Seattle.
They could have asked for anybody else.
Well, here's the thing.
In the NFC except that team.
The 2 biggest weapons that the Rams have are the Seattle's kryptonite. Their defensive line and Aaron Donald, and the D-line in itself for the Rams is exceptional. Their front 4 is exceptional. Guys that you don't even know of were impactful players, and they destroyed Seattle's offensive line. You can't really blame Russell because he really had never even had an opportunity to get through his progression. And then the other thing is their deep play threat with DK Metcalf. He gets shut down. You sent me a stat the other day. 3 games, 4 catches, 44 yards, no touchdowns, I believe.
When Jalen Ramsey guarding him. I wanted to get in, though, to last night's game, the last game of Super Wild Card Weekend, because that was the most telling sign for me. And
the biggest upset.
And the biggest upset, obviously, because we all thought the Browns were going to be, the Browns.
Like Juju said.
And Juju, let me quote you. The Steelers, once again, are the Steelers. Every year, we seem like when the Pittsburgh Steelers get into the playoffs, they're worried more about the drama and the outside factors than the actual game.
Antonio Brown back in the day, Le'Veon Bell. They're always worried about something else, and this is where we always bash the Steelers, and we always got on Mike Tomlin. Everybody loves Mike Tomlin. He's a good coach, but he's almost seemed like he's lost touch with his team, and it's another year where it's another disappointment for one of the most talented teams in all of football. This was a team that was 11-0 7 weeks ago. Now they're done. They're one and done. Their season is over, and now they have to start figuring out, is Big Ben going to be the quarterback going next year? And then also with Phillip Rivers. That's what it's just frustrating. And Joe, you could chime in. What stood out for you from Super Wildcard Weekend, I should say?
This game in particular, Baker Mayfield is the guy in Cleveland. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's established.
I think he mentioned it last night.
I'll tell you what, they better hope Odell comes back and he's good and healthy next year, because you really do. I mean, Baker doesn't throw good balls. He's got guys who bail him out a lot. I mean, Landry is great, and the tight end made a nice play. Listen, his throws are better. He's still a little sloppy. And don't forget, I mentioned this to Trevor a little while ago before we started the show, 35-23, Baker threw what should have been an easy pick six. And I think it was a linebacker actually dropped the ball. He had nothing but about 40 yards of it was right at the end of the third quarter. And it would have been a game changer.
And Hooper, no, not the one in the end zone.
Nope. Again, but that was the throw to Hooper.
It was in the middle of the field.
The throw to Hooper wasn't great. But listen,
exactly what you're talking about.
Baker is fantastic. He's perfect for Cleveland. He's got the right weapons around him in Cleveland. Again, he's got guys who can make good catches on. Again, I love the ball out of Baker's hands. His accuracy is a little off. He tends to overthrow a little bit, and that's fine because he's got the right guys around him. They can. I mean, Jarvis Landry makes him look great every week. But this is when I talk about Mack Jones, and I'm like, you look at the great throws, or even Daniel Jones, those nice throws that right in there. You don't really see that a whole lot from Baker, but he's got guys that make great catches. And as long as those guys are there, they can win with Baker Mayfield. For the Steelers, they're looking at $41.3 million in salary for Big Ben next year, $20.3 million in dead cap space. They got to cut him by March 1st, or they got to convince him. They got to convince him. They restructured his deal a year ago, I assume, thinking he was going to be able to do something this year, and now they're in a really tight spot.
So they also have 18 free agents.
And it's kind of sad because
major free agents.
Because finally you might be saying, and we could realistically be thinking,
rebuild.
This could be, no, not even that. This could be the end of the 2004 quarterback draft class with Eli already retired. Phillip is uncertain, and Big Ben, both guys and having tears, emotional about both of these losses. So do we think that this could be the end for both of these guys, for two quarterbacks that will be going into the Hall of Fame? And it's kind of sad to see, because it means that we're just getting that much older, because it's already been, I mean, that was 17 years ago.
It is what it is, man. It's amazing how long they played, but we said it, don't act like it's a bad thing.
No.
They're old, bro. Brady is the phenomenal, okay? The phenomenon, the better word. Rivers needs to go. The door is there. Thank you for your run. You got us to the playoffs at Colts. You're not good enough no more. Stop.
I don't stop my thing.
Stop.
Drew Brees,
time to go.
But Phillip didn't look that bad.
I'm not saying they look bad.
Where Big Ben, I know what his stats. If there was fantasy football last night and Big Ben was your quarterback, my God, he probably put up, I don't even know much. The stats that he had last night, playing all the way till the end, he just kind of looked washed up to me.
No, he didn't look washed up. His throws were high.
He just looks even the deep
bad throws. We've all seen it. Eli's done it. Every quarterback has done high throws. And when we've seen before, tip passes get picked off 9 out of 10 times. It happens. The Browns played a great game last night. You could see the difference right off the bat. How does the game start with a snap over the head after you practice him before?
I don't know. As Peyton Man. That's what I thought that Super Bowl.
Marcus Pouncey's had 9,000 snaps in his career. I think it's like his 5th fumble in his career. It doesn't happen. This is a guy who's won championships in college for the University of Florida, been on the Pittsburgh Steelers, won Super Bowl. The offensive line looked old last night. Villanueva, who's usually a solid left tackle, got beat a lot last night by Adrian Claiborne.
The better team from Iowa. The better teams, they were the better. All the better teams
ran the football better.
Won these 6 games. Plain and simple. That's why all these teams that won are going on to a divisional round, which I can't wait to, and we will preview later on in the week. You get to see Lamar Jackson versus Josh Allen, two of the bright young quarterbacks of this league, and you get to see Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns play the Kansas City Chiefs, which have the right formula with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Those two best running back combo in the game by far. Nick Chubb's a beast, and Kareem Hunt is no slouch himself. And then you get in the NFC, you get part 3, Buccaneers Saints, and then you get Rodgers versus a very good Los Angeles Rams.
Well, you get the
defense.
best scoring offense versus the best scoring defense.
Let's be honest, ladies and gentlemen. These are the best 8 teams left in the NFL. These are the best teams. I would say the Cleveland Browns were the better team than the Pittsburgh Steelers coming into this playoff because they were playing better. They were playing to get into the playoffs. The Steelers had nothing to play for last week. They haven't been playing, it seems like, for the past month and a half.
Joe, remember when Charles kind of bashed us about the Giants? He's like, Giants are a dumpster fire, all this stuff. And then they started losing.
Hi, Charles.
And listen, and I understood what Charles was saying. The Giants have been a dumpster fire since they've won the Super Bowl. But we're not talking about the Giants. We're talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers. They should have lost every game since they went 11-0. They should have lost to that Colts game.
Yeah.
Okay, and then that means they wouldn't have won the division, which means they might have actually had something to play for in Week 17, though. So who knows what would have transpired. Either way, you can tell this story how the book was going to end. You could flip right to the back of the page and know how this book was going to end for the Pittsburgh Steelers. We've been calling for it, gentlemen. The only reason why we didn't say the Steelers were going to lose is because, like Juju and like everyone else in America, the Browns are the Browns, and we have an expectation for them to lose and blow it. And if it wasn't for 5 turnovers last night, the Steelers would have won the game.
If I had to think of words for each game, like I said, the first game I would say the luck of the Bills. The second game was worst possible matchup for the Seahawks. Third was talent beats heart and effort. The fourth game was Lamar being Lamar. The fifth game was as expected, the Saints. And then last night was the Steelers being the Steelers. If I had to think of each word for each game, there's your wording for each pretty much playoff game.
So, Joe, I want to ask you a question from a Steeler fan. We talked about today, and my buddy Charles has mentioned this about a year or two ago when you were doing the show after the CSB, and he's been saying this forever.
He's been saying it for a while now.
When does it start to be critical of Mike Tomlin and his coaching job? Meaning, when is it time to maybe move on from? And I know everyone's gonna look at it and say, I'm sorry, say all he does is win games, but what does he do in the playoffs? There's a lot of controversy and things that you can knock on him. What is the telling story of Mike Tomlin?
I think that obviously right now is, if you're Pittsburgh fans and Pittsburgh media, now's the time to probably have that conversation and bring it up while it's fresh and people are angry. Obviously, an 11-0 start, you certainly expect, bearing catastrophic circumstances, which certainly they didn't suffer. I mean, their starting quarterback was there. Connor was there. All their wide receivers were there.
Got out coached by a team that had 4 missing coaches.
That was sorry, but listen, it's funny. I looked up. I thought, how many teams have turned the ball over 5 times and won a game? And it's happened never in the playoffs. It's happened in the regular season a handful of times. Once in '87, Giants Bills 6-3 game. Giants had 7 turnovers in that game. Strike game, scab game. That's why.
Joe, you know what this game felt like to me with the Browns and the situation of the Browns? It felt like that Titans game. Remember when the Browns got out to that big 35-7 lead and we were talking about early in the year, and then they almost looked like they were about to collapse? That's how it felt like. But Baker Mayfield, once again, kind of like last week, when they needed him to get the ball for a first down, 4th and 1 last week against those same Steelers, he got the first down. When his name was called, he delivered. And that's what they need. And I'm 100% on you with Baker Mayfield. He's the perfect guy. And I remember when he first started against the New York Jets on that Thursday night game, and we came back on Friday to discuss that. And I always said Baker Mayfield was the perfect guy for the city of Cleveland.
Jace, that might be the best quote you've ever given us in the year and a half that you've watched this show. Swear to God, that honestly is probably the best quote I could think of. Great coach. We're not knocking Tomlin. But Charles has been saying this a year. And, Joe, I think you and Charles got into it at the CSB when we were in the studio and we had him on the phone. He was like, dude, the only thing that may be saving Tomlin's job is, and no one wants to talk about this, is maybe a race thing where, listen, he's a black coach. You don't want to fire a black coach. That's one less black coach in the NFL. Not saying he wouldn't get another job, but he got out-coached again. I'm coached by a team that hadn't practiced till Friday, had multiple coaches missing. The only thing they were doing was Zoom meetings and holding up flashcards like your teacher in 5th grade kindergarten class. All right. And then the other thing is Charles brought up a good point. 2 years ago or 3 years ago when they were in the playoffs, they got beat up at home by Jacksonville, if you remember.
Their last 2 losses in the playoffs are to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
And the Browns.
Not led by Mike Lennon, by the way. And the Cleveland Browns.
You're the Pittsburgh Steelers. You're supposed to be ready. Last night it had to do with coaching. They right off the bat, they look like you. If you watch that when they scored the 28th touchdown, the 4th touchdown, when Fitzpatrick looked at he was like, "Yo, what are you guys doing?" Like, who?
They look lost.
They look lost. And Joe, in the playoffs, you shouldn't look lost right now.
Breaking news right now. Thank you, Robbie Clark, Doug Peterson.
About time.
Hey, Doug Peterson. You want it? Congratulations. I'm going to quote DJ Khaled. You played yourself. And guess what? Now your ass is unemployed. So see you later. Don't care. I'm glad for it. But no, back to the Steelers. Think about this. 35-20.
I brought up Andy Reid.
Oh,
same guy in Philly who won games but couldn't get a
listen.
Super Bowl. They shipped him out, Joe, after like 11 years. And
listen, hold on.
Sometimes a change in scenery, Trev brought up Tomlin, sometimes a change in scenery and a new voice in your ear is something good for your team.
Here's where he might have lost his job right here. It's 35-23. They're on fire right now. They're starting to get in a groove of things on offense. It's 4th and 1. What does he do? He punts the ball because maybe field position. You're losing.
He said,
time is against you.
He said field position.
Time is against you. If you're winning by 12, okay, I understand. But time is against you. You're going home or you're advancing. There's no tomorrow. Why would you punt that ball? Knowing that your team is starting to get in the groove. Big Ben was feeling it. The running game looked like
you're probably scoring and
the
making
receivers were getting
game.
open, getting separation. Instead, you punt the ball where their defense couldn't stop a nosebleed last night. So it's just, again, Mike Tomlin, great coach to a certain point, but he gets outcoached. We always said he always got outcoached by better coaches. Belichick, he got outcoached last night by the Browns coaching staff. He got outcoached by the Jacksonville Jaguars coaching staff at the time. I'm just trying to say is that for a guy that's won 2 Super Bowls, he should be able to handle all types of situations like this. And it seems like once again, just like the Pittsburgh Steelers franchise currently, and this is a team that I thought was going to run the table as a bold prediction because I really felt this defense was that good and legit, and I thought their offense could make enough plays to get to a Super Bowl. And I was as far as I couldn't be right. I mean, wrong. I was so wrong on this one, and shame on me. It's just the Pittsburgh Steelers once again showing that they are the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's just a terrible way to finish off the season.
Well, how about this? If you're a Steeler fan, not only do the Browns beat you at home, which they hadn't done in who knows when, and then the Ravens win. You know what I mean? I mean, your 2 nemesis, you get beat by it, and then your other nemesis wins the playoff game up in the Titans, and now you're watching your division.
Joe, let me ask,
it's like watching Dallas beating the Giants and Philly winning the other playoff game, and you're watching them advance. You're like,
it's funny.
We were the better team this year.
Joe's 2 players that he put the most pressure on, both teams lost, and both of them struggled. Chase Young didn't have the game that we were expecting him to have, and then Big Ben has an unbelievable game stats-wise, but
maybe Joe. But Joe's right though. The 2 guys that he said that had pressure on didn't live up to the expectation that Joe thought. Yep. Chase Young, we said needed to have at least a sack and a half, or had to be as disruptive force. Was it
that team as a whole? I think they had like 2 or 3. They didn't get to Brady a lot, and it showed.
Well, yeah, and we talk about this every year when you face Brady. Be able to get pressure up the middle and be able to get just general pressure, and that's why the Saints have beaten them because they have dominated the line of scrimmage. And that's one thing I noticed all week. If you ask me what's your biggest takeaway, teams that control
I got something.
The line of scrimmage.
Who was the most impressive team? Joe, I'm going to start with you. Who was the most impressive team that you saw this weekend?
Ooh, who was the most impressive team? If I had to say most impressive, it would probably be, I'm shocked these words are coming out of my mouth, but the Browns.
The Browns. Oh, you said the Browns. Oh,
the Browns.
I thought you were going to go with my team.
All right, let's hear it. So give me why. Because of just the way they play, just how from start to finish, how they play.
I mean, again, when you talk about getting hot at the right time, they certainly have. I mean, they've had a really good year, and all year long we've been doubting Baker. At least I have. We wondered if
a lot of people have. It's okay.
We wondered it. We wonder what this team's going to be like. Again, Juju said it. The Browns. teams have to learn how to become winners. You know, I mean, Baker Mayfield's been a winner his whole life, and he got him right on the door last year. And I thought, nah, I don't think he's good enough. And he was great this year, and he was great yesterday, and that surprised me. Again, when I say, like earlier, he throws a good ball. Don't get me wrong. I like the way it comes out. He's a smart guy. He tends to overthrow. I think it's his height, to tell you the truth. But again, when I say needs OBJs and Landrys, they've got great hands. They can turn back on balls and make catches. They can jump, and he needs that. And that works because if that's the guys he has and he can make it work with those guys, then he's perfect going forward. That defense looked really good. If they wanted to, I mean, they could have scored 56 points in that game. They could have lit them up if they really wanted to. They allowed Pittsburgh to get back in that game, and they never really did. Again, I mean, they had their moment, and as soon as Pittsburgh lost it, the Browns ran away with it. Like you said, every time Pittsburgh got close after that, Baker put another 3 on the board, put the game away. I was really impressed with the Cleveland Browns. I mean, of everybody this week, and I think the Bucs look solid. I don't think the Bucs are going to have an issue playing with anybody. I don't mind the same.
Okay, all right, we'll get to it. We'll see it for another time.
I think a lot of the. I mean, again, that Buffalo win. I want Buffalo to pull out games they should lose. That's what championship teams do. You need to be tested a little bit. I think the teams that won deserve to win because they played better than the other team. It was as simple as that this weekend.
Championship teams need to be tested. 100% agree with that statement. And the Bills did.
Yeah.
By the way, can I give you just one more on
one more thing?
One more thing. Listen, Titans-Ravens, a big moment in the game. 3rd and 1. They hand the ball to Henry. He gets stuffed. 4th and 1. Tannehill goes for a sneak. And I thought to myself, oh, boy. I mean,
they got on that one.
They got it, but they just misplayed that game completely.
They chose not to give the ball to Derrick Henry 2 times in a row when it was 4th and 2. And people asked Vrabel about that afterwards. It's funny you bring that up because that's my most impressive team, the Ravens. 2 reasons. 1, because you hadn't beaten this team in the last 2 years, and Lamar Jackson hadn't won a playoff game. So there was an expectation, right? And I think we all in the back of our minds really thought the Ravens was a better team anyways. The Titans defense wasn't as good as
the Ravens winning the whole thing.
Here's my other reason. They were down 10-0. That game could have got.
And that was the biggest narrative of Lamar. Could he come back when down to 10-0?
Now, he didn't play a great game, but people have to understand Lamar Jackson is not going to throw for 300 yards a game. That's not who he is. People need to start to understand. He's going to be 175 to 230 and rush for 100 yards. That's what he is. He's a running quarterback that has the ability to throw the ball and make plays with his legs. That's when they're the most dangerous. You look at his numbers last night, 17 to 24. Good numbers. 179 yards, 70 completion percent. He had the 1 bad throw. It was a bad pick. He should have thrown it more to the sidelines. He lobbed it. He knew he said it. He said it.
He swore on the.
He said, I'm sorry. My bad.
Yeah, that was a.
At the end of the day, he played well. This team has kind of owned him, the Titans. I was impressed, though, the whole team with the Ravens. You watch. They controlled the line of scrimmage, both offensively and defensively. They shut down the king, Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry didn't have 50 yards rushing. Didn't even get a chance to really get started.
Long live the king.
So I'm impressed by the Ravens really playing their game. If you watch the game carefully, they controlled the line of scrimmage offensively. They ran the ball. Dobbins had a good game. Gus Edwards had a good game. Lamar ran the ball, was the backbreaker. I think that long run to tie it up was a 10-10. That was the long run when he went 20 miles an hour down the sideline. That's what he is.
That's when Lamar's
and then listen, Marcus Peters, that's what he does at the end of games. You can get him on jumping routes. You might be able to get him on a double move, but he gets you sometimes, and he can pick the ball off. They have a solid defense, and they're healthy. They're the first time they've been healthy in a while, and this team is going to play with a motivation and expectation because we talked about this. Last year, they were 14-2. They were the best team in football. You're almost like, this team's going to – this is when they're the most dangerous, when you count them out, when there's no expectation, when everyone's talking – junk about them when it's them against the world, and they're going to be a dangerous team. And this is a team I'm telling you the Bills do not want to face. It's not going to because they're
defensively.
Let me ask you a question, especially you, Trevor. 3 seconds left in the game. You're at the 28-yard line. You want Lamar Jackson to have to make that game-winning throw?
He might
He's
run it.
literally, of the guys left in the postseason, he's last on my list for who I want to make that throw. Now, when I factor in who do I want at quarterback based on other things he can do with 3 seconds left from the 25-yard line, he's number 1 on my list. So where does he fall? Where does he fall when you look at guys like Mahomes and Allen?
Of the quarterbacks left, and I mean, yeah, that's
the
tough.
guys left. I mean, really.
But who's making the throw from the 25? Not many, because most guys are going to put in a throw along the end zone.
Rodgers.
Yeah, but they're going to probably play. But here's what thing is: Lamar can extend the play like that Browns play, and one of those cornerbacks or someone jumps it, and he throws.
That's what makes him so special, is that ability to just get outside the pocket where you get the defenders to come up a little bit. I know he doesn't have the greatest receivers, but you saw it on the Monday night game. Just dunk it over him.
But, Joe, he might run it from the 25 in.
Again, so that's why I say, I love Lamar Jackson. Don't get me wrong. It's hard to compare him to other guys.
Because he's not.
I don't compare him to any quarterback in the history of NFL ever.
It really isn't fair, too, because his primary weapon is not his throwing. So, again, I say, when you're thinking, I mean, again, it's his secondary weapon. He's pretty good at it. He's not great at it. And he's not as good as anybody else left in the playoffs at doing it.
Remember this.
It's the legs that makes him a standout and puts him on equal billing with everybody else. But I'm saying, and this is why I worry about the Ravens, if it comes down to 3 seconds left or at the 45-yard line, you want him making that throw.
Probably not. But
probably not.
Would you feel good about that? You've seen Rodgers make it. You've seen Brady. You've seen Mahomes make it. You feel good when they throw that ball.
That's why I was impressed with the Ravens coming back from down 10-0, and then
I think that was the most
shutting down the Titans for most of the next 2.5 quarters. Really, just shut them down. Tannehill didn't play that well. AJ Brown had some nice catches, but didn't really have a dominant game. And then Derrick Henry never got started. So for me, as a team, as a whole. And Justin Tucker missed another kick, which would have really solidified. And they have the best kicker, him and Bucker.
I'll go Tucker. I know what I'm getting.
Bucker from the Chiefs is good.
Harrison Bucker's really good.
But that plays a major role in the playoffs because we've seen it. Missed kicks, field position, punt, and fielding kicks. And don't forget, Joe Harbaugh was a special teams coordinator for the Eagles.
Here's the thing, Joe. In the playoffs specifically, not the regular season. In the playoffs, you have to be able to run the ball effectively. And I believe that the Ravens are the best running team left in the playoffs. They were number 1 in this year, and they continued yesterday. Hence why the Titans are eliminated, because their running attack couldn't get going. Why did they get to an AFC Championship game last year? Because their running attack was dominant. They controlled the line of scrimmage. If you can control the line of scrimmage, just ask us. We know, we're Giant fans. That's how they won the freaking Super Bowl. Is control the line of scrimmage, time of possession. You keep Josh Allen. You keep Patrick Mahomes off the field. I know Lamar is not going to throw for 400 yards. He's not going to. If you expect him to be a Patrick Mahomes, he's not. Go just continue to watch Patrick Mahomes. Lamar Jackson's ability to run the football alongside with J.K. Dobbins, and they control that clock. It don't matter. If you can keep those guys off the field, those great quarterbacks, you'll always have a chance alongside with that great defense that they have. And it showed yesterday. Especially, I was so impressed for them being down 10-0. I'm like, uh-oh, here we go. The people are already saying it. And for him to come back and for that defense to only give up 3 points the rest of the way after that and to really dominate that, good for them. And that's going to be a tough matchup for the Bills. This is going to be a very tough matchup. And I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait for it. It's the Saturday night game, too, which is going to be a dandy.
And listen, the 2 guys in the class, right, Joe? The 2 best quarterbacks in that class, right? Josh Allen and Lamar. The guys that maybe had the most questions coming into the draft, Josh Allen with his completion percent and Lamar with his throwing.
And that's where, Joe, and this is where I come into play, and we'll talk about it when it comes later on in the show, in the week, is the Kansas City Chiefs. Their inability to run the football could make them very vulnerable. Why I think the Browns may have a better chance than people give them because of how great that running game is. That's what I'm saying.
And we'll save that question that Joe had from last week.
And we'll talk about, because you wanted to talk about the Chiefs. We haven't talked about the Chiefs. It's amazing. We haven't talked about the champs in about a month or so. We'll talk about that at the end of the week, because you look at the Bills don't have that great of a running game, but the Ravens and Browns do. Now, we might think that the Bills and the Chiefs are both the more talented teams, But if you can run the football and you keep those high-powered offenses off the field,
but that's why you always have a shot. That's why you gave the Colts a chance because they could control the line of scrimmage and run the football.
Can I say who my most impressive team was?
Of course.
Easy. It was the LA Rams. The way they dominated the Seattle Seahawks from start to finish. I know that score says 30-20, but that was a dominating performance. They shut down Russell Wilson. They showed another year, it's like the Steelers, of why the Seattle Seahawks desperately need to go this is a team. You want to talk about how a team needs to go draft offensive line? Go draft offensive line. The Seattle Seahawks should be drafting offensive line the rest of the way because if you want to keep your quarterback healthy and you want to have him ready to go again next year and be as dominant himself, but I think he's become too Hollywood, Russell. I really believe that.
What is him about Hollywood?
Because I think he's more focused on his whole Sierra life and all this stuff.
Where do you see this stuff?
It's just look at him.
I don't think so.
What has he done since? That's blasphemy. I know because he's done amazing since the Blades and a Boom went.
That's it.
What has he been?
All right, Trev.
I'm just saying.
Hollywood Sierra. Really?
He is. He's Hollywood.
Dude, the guy is all business. He trains like no other. He put effort in. Listen.
Hollywood.
They couldn't went to get Antonio Brown. They couldn't went to get Antonio Brown and put another weapon on the field to take the pressure off of DK Metcalf. I'm
just saying the way that they got after that offensive line, once again showing the weaknesses of the Seattle Seahawks. And when everybody says Seattle's a Super Bowl team, they're not. Until they get off the line, they will not be a Super Bowl contender.
If you look at every single team, with the exception of the Buffalo Bills, every team that won was able to effectively run the football.
Yes.
Other than the Bills. Cam Akers, 131 yards. Leonard Fournette, 93 yards. Obviously, Lamar and company, put up a ton of yards. Kamara had 99 yards. Chubb, again.
All the teams that won, except with the Bills, had a great running attack, plain and simple. And that's what it comes down to. Can I say one more thing?
Football.
Speaking of playoff football, before we get into the national championship preview, I just want to talk about something that's very frustrating because I know a lot of Giant fans have bashed this man, and that's Evan Ingram. No, it's not just Evan Ingram, ladies and gentlemen. This is professional athletes. If you're watching the game, I know we're Giant fans and we're hard on Evan Ingram, but you looked at all the drops, it was making me lose my freaking mind. These are professional athletes, the best of the best, and they can't just catch a normal ball nowadays. It seems so difficult. I don't understand it.
Why is there a different ball than a normal ball?
Professional ball. Hey, there's a deflated ball, and then there's a regular ball, and let's just ask those.
Well, perfect example, the Bears game.
Oh my! That changes the whole game. I guarantee that game is a whole different score, and we might be talking about a different outcome if the kid Mims catches it. Perfectly thrown ball by Trubisky. You couldn't have asked for a better throw by him, and the guy literally drops it. It's just so frustrating to see these guys game in and game out drop it throughout the regular season.
Then there was like a 2nd and 18. If you remember, Joe, if you were watching that Rams-Seattle game, Russell in the 3rd or 4th quarter hit DK Metcalf like right in the hands, like right in the center of the hands, and he dropped the ball. And I'm like, all right. And I watched the game, and I couldn't believe the amount of drops I saw this weekend on impactful plays. 3rd and 8.
Do you know what just occurred to me too? I mean, look at the guys who lead the NFL in drops. It's always big name players.
Mm-hmm.
It's the guys that get targeted like 140, 150 times a year. And 3 or 4 big drops. Again, look at Evan Ingram. I mean, every 2 drops that he had literally were the difference between postseason and sitting home. You could literally cite his 2 drops and say that was your whole season. And you're right. I mean, it's easy to blame that guy in the moment, but he usually does make the catch way more often than he doesn't.
Larry Fitzgerald didn't drop the ball. Chris Carter didn't. He
is never.
That's
why guys like Jerry Rice or Jerry.
You know who else didn't drop the ball? Antonio Brown didn't drop the ball either much.
No.
Antonio Brown used to catch everything. And Joe, you brought up before in the Tampa game.
Godwin and Mike Evans.
They dropped the ball. They're guys they dropped, and Antonio Brown didn't. And the 2 guys they said they picked up, Fournette and Antonio Brown, were their 2 best offensive players that night.
All in all, the Super Wild Card weekend was a major success, and I cannot wait for divisional football because, boy, oh boy, we got some great matchups this Saturday.
I think you have the best possible matchups you could possibly have right now because if you just break it down, we'll talk about Friday. The Rams have the best defense in football. The best defense. Scoring defense, overall defense, they have the best
That
defense.
Jalen Ramsey, Devontae Adams, man, sign me up for that.
And as long as Aaron Donald is healthy,
That's the key. If Aaron Donald don't play,
get pressure on Brady. I mean, not Brady, Rodgers. And there's no Bacchieri, the left tackle, no more.
Yeah.
He was the best left tackle in football. So if the Rams can get pressure with the 4 and play coverage and control Aaron Jones,
we'll talk about all of this.
And then you look at, like you said, the Bills, Ravens. I mean, Josh Allen, Lamar, maybe the 2 hottest teams we both were talking about for the last 2 weeks that we thought might have a chance to be the Chiefs, the one that's going to knock off the Chiefs. The Browns, do they have the
one of them's going to get the chance?
Baker, another opportunity to prove yourself. And then listen, honestly, they were going to save it for the Fox game on Sunday. Brady and Breeze. I mean, come on. Does it get any better than that?
Part 3. Can the Saints sweep the season series? They already got 2. Can they get 3? I don't know about that.
I'll tell you what.
I know it's hard to beat a team 3 times in a year. Just ask those Dallas
Joe,
Cowboys.
I'll tell you one thing. The Saints defense is legit. And it's not because of Breeze. That defense is legit. I know they played the Bears yesterday, and people are they played the Bears. No, just watch the game in general. Their
defense has been great. This defense is.
Well, I said go look what the Saints did against the Bucs. The 2 games they played them when everyone was talking about the Bucs. Shut them down. 0.
I can't wait. I'm excited for it. It's gonna
very good tackling defense.
Yes, they tackle.
They don't miss tackles,
and they get turnovers.
Yeah,
that's a big key. Week 1 was a success. Let's see what week 2 brings for the NFL playoffs. I cannot wait. But speaking of, I cannot wait for something, and that's tonight. My good old Ohio State Buckeyes. I cannot wait for this game for the simple reason that everybody has continuously doubted them. You, Joe, as included in this group. But first, before we even get into a preview, the peanut gallery, he's looking around. Is he talking to me? Before we get into the preview, we got a nice little promo for you, a passionate promo from that great Ohio State fan, Jace Garcia. Check it out.
Hello. What's going on, Keys to the City fam? It's your boy, Big Jace from All 4 Downs, live every Wednesday at 7:30. So make sure you check it out this Wednesday, where we recap tonight's big game, where we crown the national champion between Justin Fields and the Ohio State Buckeyes, and Mack Jones, Najee Harris, and the Heisman winner Devontae Smith and the Alabama Crimson Tide. But my question to you guys is, what does Ohio State have to do to win this game? But really, what's the point differential going to be? How badly is the Tide going to roll over the Buckeyes? Thank you very much. Enjoy the game tonight. Peace and love.
That was, like I said, our passionate Ohio State fan, Jace Garcia, the host of. I'm just kidding. No, he's a Utah fan and a Giant fan. Jace, I appreciate that. Thank you so much for that. The host of All 4 Downs. Go check it out. I'm also a big part of that. I'm like the heel of the show. You should see me. I got muted last time I'm being on the show. Ovi took me off the show. I'm such a bad heel. I'm a great heel. I've become the ultimate heel. But yes, I know Jace thinks he predicted a score of 1,000,000-0. It's kind of like the Giants and Bengals game thing.
Not only did he predict it, he put $10,000 on it.
I want to know what the realistic score that he thinks. Obviously,
he's watching, so I want to see a realistic score, Jace, before the show ends, of what you expect for tonight's outcome. But let's get into it. Here we are. We didn't think this could be possible this year. Of a year that we thought would somehow be interfered with COVID throughout, and this is one of the main reasons why people were very upset that those Ohio State Buckeyes made it to the college football playoff, because they did have a lot of interference from COVID, and even still up to this day have been dealing 56-23. Wow. Okay. Anyways, gotcha. Just like it, roll Tide, roll. No, you mean roll Buckeyes, baby. I cannot, like I said,
say roll Buckeyes because
I don't care. I'll do whatever I want.
It's an oxymoron.
I don't care. I'll do whatever I want. I like the Buckeyes. I like saying roll. I like saying roll, baby. But here we are. Ohio State's here. We are here against Alabama. I cannot wait. It's in Miami, the great state of Florida, soon to be my new home Sorry, guys. I'll be living in palm trees and 80 degrees while you'll be living in the great state of Connecticut. The real question is, I know how great this Alabama offense is. Devontae Smith, the Heisman Trophy winner. Mack Jones, one of the Heisman finalists, one of the best quarterbacks in the country this year. And the emergence of maybe Jalen Waddle, which is a still game-time decision. That could be a huge deal.
Najee Harris?
Maybe if you let me finish, it's kind
of
of it's kind of an
Listen, three guys finished in the top 5 in the Heisman.
I don't care.
That's all you need to say.
First of all, if Jalen Waddle doesn't get hurt, we're talking about Jalen Waddle and not Devontae Smith as the Heisman. That's how good Jalen Waddle was.
And he was
but
their special teams guy.
And we're talking about all these guys right now. This is what Ohio State's going to have to deal with. On the other side, you have an Ohio State team who dominated a very good Clemson Tiger team that we all thought was in the same tier as Alabama. But Ohio State took care of business. The biggest key for me, plain and simple, and why they're here, they have to win inside the trenches. If they don't win inside the trenches, why did they beat Clemson? I know Justin Fields was amazing. I know Trey Sermon has been amazing. But that doesn't happen without winning inside the trenches. They won on the offensive line, and they won on the defensive line. They got to Trevor Lawrence. They gave Justin Fields time. They gave big-ass holes for Trey Sermon to go through that Tiger defense. That's what they're going to have to do tonight. They're going to have to score. These are two of the highest scoring teams in college football this year. Now, I know Alabama is usually led by a great stout defense, but it's different. This is the year of the offense by Alabama. And I know Ohio State is going to have to play a perfect game again. And I expect them to play another perfect game because, like we said, coming into this game, not many people are giving them a chance. And that's okay. I want to be the underdog. I'm excited for it. Ted, what is your key to the game? And then I'll ask, what does Ohio State have to do to win? What does Alabama do?
I mean, you kind of stole my thunder, but it's a
stole your thunder.
But it's similar to what we
Jesus.
But similar to what
the Ohio State guy.
Can you shut up?
No. This is what I get for 3.5 years of interruptions. You're gonna get it one freaking time. So shut your mouth and go on.
You asked me a question. You can't say shut your mouth, idiot.
Okay, he had to get that in, idiot.
Listen, like we talked about in the wild card, and I could say that because he's my brother.
Yeah, we're brothers.
Maybe.
Whatever. What?
We talked about this in the wild card game. Guys, teams that win the trenches, right? I mean, it's plain and simple. It seems obvious, but it's really important because that's why Ohio State dominated the Clemson game. It was they were able to control the line of scrimmage, put pressure on Trevor Lawrence, and ETN didn't really get carried away in his running game. Mm-hmm. And then offensively, just look what Trey Sermon did running the football. Look what they've done the last 2 games. Over 300 yards against Northwestern, over 200 yards, or close to, 199, 200 yards against Clemson. Total domination. That means you're controlling the line of scrimmage, which means you control the clock, which means your quarterback is playing in a more comfortable pocket. And listen, Justin Fields, I'm not worried about
524 yards in the last 2 games for Trey Sermon.
I know he's going to see if he could beat Zeke's numbers from the 3-game span. That's a big game. Listen, they got to run the football. Plain and simple, Housey. You got to run the football, control the clock. You're going to have to score points. This is going to have to be like that Clemson-Alabama game where you're going to have to win 42-40, 42-38. Because Alabama's going to put up points. It's obvious. This is the best offense since last year.
Last year's offense of LSU.
And listen, the only reason why Alabama's offense might not be better is because Waddle's not there, because they would have had 2,000-yard receivers just like they had last year. They would have had a 1,000-yard back, and they would have had he didn't have 5,000 yards passing though, Mack Jones, which I'm still trying.
Well, he's not like Joe Burrow. He's not that good, right, Joe?
But he throws a great deep ball.
I mean, look, Mack Jones. I called this before the first game got played this year that Mack Jones was going to go undefeated and win a championship.
You also said he was going to win the Heisman, which you were real close on. I thought he was going to win the Heisman.
I mean, I feel like he got robbed there, and I'll tell you what, if Jalen Waddle was there, I kind of agree with Ted. I think that they both have 1,000-yard seasons. Devontae Smith,
he had more yards.
He was Devontae Smith before Devontae Smith was going to win. I mean, Jalen Waddle was on pace to do what he was.
Because when he came back last year, and if you knew something else, Jalen Waddle was the best return man coming back in football.
He's nasty.
Punt return kicker. So if he plays tonight, whatever, I don't expect much. I expected more as a decoy. Like here, you got to at least appreciate him being out there. They're tight end. I mean, they have playmakers all over the field.
Joe, who's your key player for just this game in general? Alabama's had so many players, but if you had to pick a key player,
Who would you really have to? I don't think you can pick a key player. I think you got to pick a unit, and it's really got to be Ohio State.
I think Justin Fields. I think everybody that's faced Mack Jones this year has. If you want to hang in a game with Mack Jones, you got to be perfect. He's perfect. I mean, he hits 77% of his passes. He throws. I mean, he scores and he scores and he scores. You look at the game with Florida. I mean, Kyle Trask did as good a job as anybody could do. That's how you're going to have to play. Justin Fields has to score every time he gets the ball. It's probably going to be that kind of game. Ted's right, too. I mean, the longer he can sustain drives, maybe the emergence of Sermon might be the best thing that's really happened to this team over the last few weeks, because if you can keep Bama off the field for large stretches, that's only going to help. It's going to keep the score down, but you're not going to stop Mack Jones from scoring. So it's a matter of Justin Fields can't make any bad throws. Justin Fields, he's got to stay on the field. He's got to be successful. Can't get in the long third down situations. Ohio State can win this game. I really do think that. I think they're good enough to do it, but I think the key to them, score early. If you fall behind, you're done. Because once this team gets on a roll, literally the tide, it doesn't stop. So don't get blown out early and you can hang.
With Clemson. I mean, Clemson got out to a 14-7 lead, and then it kind of just, I don't know what changed, but drastically Ohio State went on that 28-0 run. I don't think at 35-14. That's what Ohio State almost has to do. They have to get out to a fast lead, like you said, Joe. They're going to have to put up points. Field goals may not be enough either. They need to score touchdowns. And they have a guy in Trey Sermon who, thank you, Trey Sermon, number 8, for getting us into this situation, because if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't even be talking about this game right now. I tell you, I mean, great matchups. There's going to be tons of NFL talent. I mean, Chris Olave, very underrated wide receiver for Ohio State. Watch out for him, man.
Well, Patrick Surtain is,
but that's what I mean.
Who's one of the best.
You're going to have one of Sean Wade, who was supposed to be, and I know Jace will talk about this when he does his shows in the draft. Sean Wade was supposed to be the top corner coming in back,
and
right?
And
he struggled a little bit. Yeah. So he's going to be matched up against Devontae Smith, and I know he said he wants to be. Does Ohio State play zone? Do they play zone and rush 4? How do they match up? Because I was reading a piece, and there's a great piece on ESPN, but I was trying to think how I would interpret it for the thing, and I'm like, it's kind of feast or famine. How do you do if you decide to pressure Mack Jones? You know, you can get caught in blitzes. Do you play conservative and try to keep everything in front of you and just make them dink and dunk and go 10 yards at a time and try to not to give up the big play? Because that's what I think the biggest key is for Ohio State is don't give up that big play. Notre Dame, you know, the thing with Devontae Smith, he caught a 7-yard slant and he took it to the house. Make him 7 yards and tackle him at 10. Don't let him go another 35 yards. Contain them. Keep everything in front of you. It's going to have to be a bend, and don't break and kick a field goal or make them have to withstand a 10, 12-play drive. Don't let them score 4 plays, 70 yards, because that just builds momentum.
The good thing about Ohio State is that they have the offense that can score. And where Notre Dame, when Notre Dame played Alabama, that's the only way I thought Notre Dame had a chance. If they score, they have a chance. They couldn't score. That game was, I know it was a 31-7 for most of that game. But that's what happens when you have no offense. That's a different story with Ohio State. They can score. They can run the football effectively, and you've seen that for the past couple of weeks. And Justin Fields played the game of his life against Clemson. What happens? Let me ask you this before.
I know you're going to.
I want to ask you this question before we close out the show. If Justin Fields has another huge game, what Jackson? Just listen. No. Just listen. If he has another huge game with the rumors of Jacksonville Jaguars taking maybe Urban Meyer as the next head coach.
Go number 2. He's not.
How far, does he even get into consideration?
He solidifies the number 2 position. My biggest question is this. I just thought of this. This is the best test that Alabama is going to face the entire season. They haven't really faced a big test. Go through their schedule. What SEC team really gave them a matchup? Florida had no defense. This was the worst defense. I'm a Florida fan, so I could say this with 100% accuracy. This was the worst defense Florida's had in like 10 years. Yeah, honestly, worst defense. If that game kept going, they weren't going to stop them at any point. If you don't believe it,
just go watch the Oklahoma game.
Notre Dame, as much as people wanted to give Notre Dame credit, this Ohio State team would beat Notre Dame. So this is the best team they are going to face all season long. And we've said this, I think, a couple years ago about Alabama. What happens to Alabama when they actually get punched in the face and they get tested? Because Ohio State's going to hear the same thing they heard about Clemson. You don't still belong here. They're going to kill you. They're going to win. You have no shot. You're facing the Heisman Trophy winner. You're facing the quarterback who won the David Bryant. You're facing the best running back, the best offensive lineman, the best center, the best coach ever. You got no chance. You're Ohio State. You stink. You got lucky against Clemson. What I'm saying is, in football, mindset can play. What kind of mindset does Alabama have? Punched in the face, we're like, whoa, this is actually over. Plain and simple. Apollo and Rocky. He thought he was going to just play with him and knock him out in the third round. What if it's late in the third quarter and you're down 7 or 10?
Go for the body, Rocky.
How does that play into? Does Mack Jones get a little tense, Joe? Does Saban Sarkisian thinking about the job at Texas? Does he question the play call?
Let me ask you,
how does that play into a factor late in the game? Because it comes down. It happens every year.
Let me ask you, Joe. Ohio State wins if
they can get Mack Jones off his game. The key to Mack Jones is getting the ball to these guys, to all these numerous weapons he has.
Mm-hmm.
If they can somehow get him off his game, if you can get Mack Jones to turn the ball over once, maybe twice, you turn that into a touchdown, maybe a pick six situation, then you could win the game. If you get into a shootout with this offense, I'm telling you, once they get going, it's over. And I think Ohio State, if Ohio State, it comes out of the gate, can get right into the end zone and make a statement, then again, put Mack Jones in situations he's not used to, and then let's see what he can do with that offense. That's your best bet.
Ted, Ohio State wins if
2 points. Trey Sermon's got to have 150 plus yards rushing. And you got to keep Ohio State under 40 points. If you got them at 38, 35, 39, you have a shot. I think once you get to 40 and 42, you play more into Alabama's favoritism. It's like basketball. Team wants to run up and down the court. Okay?
You like that?
It's fine. That's fine. What did you pick for Clemson's game?
Ohio State 42, Alabama 38.
What did you pick for Clemson, Ohio State? Just curious.
I told you I thought it would be a good game. I thought it would be a close game. I also said I thought Ohio State could win it. Don't confuse what I said or conflate the fact that I said that 6 games wasn't enough to deserve it. I didn't say they weren't a deserving team. I didn't say they weren't a great team. No, that's fine. I'll take it because I stand by what I said. And I hope, look, Ohio State proved that they belong there. And I said to you on multiple occasions, if you're going to make an exception for any team in any program, it's Ohio State. And you know what? It ended up being the right call by the NCAA. So, bam. No complaints here.
And we've noticed the teams that beat Alabama in the historic last 10 years when Saban, they were able to maintain the line of scrimmage. Alabama didn't kick their butt.
Don't you remember when Alabama lost Ohio State?
And they were able to run the football. And I'll put it this way, Trev. I wanted to get this thing in. Joe, I was reading this stat last night. Best pressure rate among defensive linemen with 100 rush attempts, right? Ohio State has 3 of the top 7 in the country. Tyreek Smith at 19%, Zach Harrison at 16%, and Jonathan Cooper at 16%. 3 of the top 10 guys in college football with pass rushing pressure on the quarterback. They have 3 of them. So they're going to have those 3 guys are going to have an impactful game. And I don't think you're going to be able to blitz Mack Jones.
So let me ask you this final. Okay. Well, you said Ohio State. Alabama wins if
they just play their game.
Okay.
Play their game. They have been the best team from day one all season.
I would agree with
If they do what they do, meaning just Mack Jones, just do what you do. Complete the balls to the guys that do make plays, run the ball with Najee Harris, and defense, just keep Justin Fields in the pocket. Let him and make him have to go 12 plays. Same thing I would say for Alabama and Ohio State, vice versa. Don't give up the big play. We know how it's game changers. We've seen Trevor Lawrence. 2 of big plays are momentum swings and special. Don't miss a kick.
So we got Joe's prediction. I'm curious to know who you have winning.
I want to pick your team. I just don't know if they have enough to beat Alabama. I said if they get 150 yards and they keep under 40, I say 42-38 Ohio State.
That's your picking?
Yeah. Are you really? Yeah, why not?
I almost wish you picked Alabama. I want everybody to pick Alabama. I still think in the back of my mind Alabama wins, but I said this on all 4 downs when we talked about this. I have 41-33 Ohio State.
I think that's 2 little points for Alabama.
You have 38. What the hell's the difference? It's 5 points.
But that's like that's a whole other possession.
Yeah, bro, that's huge. That could be a game changer. That could be.
Yeah, they'll be taking a knee. There's your one possession. They'll be taking a knee. Be over because Justin Fields is going to be celebrating.
Well, I mean, listen, Alabama is going to be
6 years ago, we won a national championship. We were the first to win the college football playoff championship. 6 years later, I expect the same results. Go Buckeyes. Cannot wait. But I also like to say, and I want to quote the great Ric Flair, if you want to beat the man, you got to beat a man. If you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. Plain and simple. This is the best that college football has given us. You already beat Clemson. There's step 1. Now you're going against the GOAT. Let's go Buckeyes. Let's go Justin Fields. Let's go Buckeye Nation. Cannot wait. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be back at the end of the week we'll talk about, me and you will do a separate thing.
I know he did, Jace. I know he did it.
I know. I screwed it up again. I always screw it up. It's okay.
Stop yelling.
Why? It's okay to yell. It's okay to yell. Gotta have passion. Thank you, Jace. You're a big wrestling fan. I understand. I got away from wrestling. Also, you can't quote Ric Flair with that. Woo! Jace.
Come on, give it to us, Trev. Take another shot. Do it.
No, just end the show.
See, he doesn't want to give it another chance. No, Joe.
Ohio State doesn't get another chance. You get one shot at it.
You get one shot, and I butchered it. But don't worry. Ohio State's going to butcher the Tide tonight in the great state of Florida.
You should have said surf the Tide.
Nah.
Or ride the Tide.
Yeah, we're going to roll them out to sea. We're going to roll the Tide out to sea. Justin Fields and company is coming.
You can ride the Tide in.
Ted, you say a lot of blasphemy things too. Give me a chance. Let me just say whatever. I'm feeling my oats. I'm feeling like I woke up feeling like a champion. No, don't do it, Joe. You already got your one thing.
No, one more thing. And then I'm out. Mack Jones, game MVP.
Oh, we didn't even pick that. I'm gonna go with Trey Sermon because he has been the best player for the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Chris Olave. If Ohio State wins.
Plain and simple. Jace, thank you for the promo. I appreciate it. Cannot wait, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back at the end of the week to preview the much anticipated divisional round. Cannot wait for that. Joseph, as always, thank you. We are streaming on all social media platforms, including Twitch at Keys to the City. So subscribe, comment, share, like. Buckeye Nation, let's go. Here we go. Clovercrest Media presents Keys to the City. We are out.
Yeah. Keys to the city, baby. When you see us, so you know you really viewing greatness in the making. Double up on facts we stating. Podcasting, cruise control, city, state, the nation. So what you saying, what we saying, prime information. Facts, keys to the city, we unlocking the statements.
Streaming every Friday.
HHW Show Podcast returns January 5th with a new season, Road to the Royal Rumble. Hector, Frank, Jason, Ovi will be on the set with the latest news and takeaways. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and you can listen wherever you listen to your favorite podcast app.